Alright everyone, we're going to be changing the rear differential fluid on a Ford Transit 350 XLT year 2017 with the single rear wheels. I drove it up on some 4x4s to raise it up. Just quickly made some marks because you got this wire harness that runs across. So those are going to be the studs. And we're going to come in with a 13 and whiz these bolts off, and I'll bring it back. Okay, I got all the bolts off except for the one on top, because I'm going to pry this pan off gently with a putty knife just to break the seal. And I used a ratcheting 13 to get these ones underneath. So you could thank Ford for putting this differential behind the rear sway bar and the spare tire. At the end, I'll show you how to get the spare tire back up, because believe it or not, there's a little bit of a learning curve. So the next thing you'll see is I'm going to pry this cover off with a catch bucket underneath, and we'll go from there. Alright, we got the cover loosened. I used this small putty knife. I had to tap it in with a mallet. And I just worked the corners until it came loose. Okay, I got the rear cover nice and clean. I used some Zep Purple degreaser with a Brillo pad and some real fine, like the green scrub pads. And I got most of this off in a scraper. This will take some time. This is not easy. I know I'm just cutting you in and out, but this took about 20 minutes. We're gonna go underneath. Then we gotta clean the surface, and it needs to look exactly like this, nice and clean. All right, so I put some paper towels underneath to stop any shavings from going inside, but we'll wipe it out with brake cleaner and everything before we assemble. All right, so I'm using the Right Stuff 90 minutes. So essentially, I'm just putting a bead around the entire piece. I don't like to spread it out. When I put the bolts on, that will spread it out. So I personally don't spread it out. Some people do. I got some Loctite on all my bolts, and with everything clean, like I went over with brake cleaner also on the other side of the axle as well. So that's nice and clean. Everything is clean. I washed my hands, so there's no oil on my hands. And we're gonna put this up, and we're gonna screw it finger tight, and we're gonna wait. I believe the directions say an hour, so 60 minutes at finger tight, and then we torque it down after 60 minutes, and then we wait an additional 30 minutes, and we add our differential fluid. So that's gonna be the procedure. You don't need to watch me curse and fiddle with this thing. We're gonna pop this back on. We have the other side marked on where our studs go, which are these. So we're gonna pop this back up. All right, everyone. I want to just take a minute to clarify. In this video, I'm using the Right Stuff 90 minutes. I've used a bunch of the Permatex products before, and I've always had pretty good results as long as you follow their directions. With the Right Stuff 90 minutes, though, the directions were not 100% clear to me, and I'll explain to you how I understand them. They want you to clean the surface, very well, which is common sense. Apply the Right Stuff 90 minutes to your pan, covering all the bolt holes, which is what we did in this video. And it says you want to assemble within 5 minutes, and that's step number 2. At step number 3, they say to tighten the pan down to your mating surface until it just starts to ooze out, and then from there allow it to dry for 1 hour. Step number 4 says torque down to specs, and then wait 90 minutes before you add fluids back into the system and return the vehicle to service. So step 3 is allow everything to dry for 1 hour. Step 4 says wait 90 minutes after you torque everything down. So the way I understand it is you're going to be essentially 2.5 hours in before you can add fluids and return your vehicle back to service. I waited 3 hours. It has been a little bit over 3 weeks, and my rear differential pan on this vehicle has not leaked. So I would say this is a success, but I would follow the directions as I understand them, because that's the way it's kind of printed on the back of the insert. The last thing I wanted to touch up on is what kind of gear fluid I used in this Transit 350. This axle is not a limited slip axle, so it doesn't need the friction modifier. According to the book, you're to use the Motorcraft 7585 full synthetic gear oil. That is $33 a quart at the time of this video, and it was done at September of 2023. The customer was never going to spend $33 per quart, and this axle takes 3 quarts. We ended up using 3 quarts of the Valvoline 7590 full synthetic with the friction modifier. Again, it's full synthetic 7590 with the friction modifier, and it was the pouch that you just squeeze in. We got it at Walmart. I believe it was about $13 a quart, so that was a significant savings there for the customer. You do not need the friction modifier in this case. When you pull off the cover, you don't see the limited slip clutch pack in there. And then if you look around the outside, you don't see any electrical connectors going into the axle, suggesting that it's an electronic limited slip. The dealer could also tell you what kind of axle you got as well, but just pull off the plate and it'll become self-evident. In this case, again, the gear lube that I used came with a friction modifier. It hasn't caused any problems for me in the past when I use the gear lube that comes with the limited slip already added to it. So they don't sell it any other way, so I end up putting the 7590 with the friction modifier already in it, because Valvoline doesn't sell it without it full synthetic. But you do not need it for this vehicle if you have the same one. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll see if I can help you out.